Good morning, I'm Dilip Thakore, editor of EducationWorld.
Good morning, I'm Summiya Yasmeen, managing editor.
In the big scare about the coronavirus, which is spreading rapidly across the world, and India is no exception, the fact that the union budget was presented only a month ago, has been forgotten. But the lack of provision for education in the budget, which is the usual thing every year we lament about, is what we have written about in our latest issue of EducationWorld, the March issue.
I mean, though there has been some increase in the education budget, the increase is very nominal, it's only 4.6% over last year. So this year, 99,312 crore has been allocated to education.
Yeah, to that we must have, to be fair, we must add the allocation for early childhood education, which is about some 20,000 crores.
Which has been allocated to the ICDS program, or the Anganwadis.
It's a different ministry, but since it's all education, I think we should add it all under education, and 3,000 rupees for skills education. So an effort has been made, but unfortunately, what is not highlighted by most of the media is that there's very little space in the budget, because the finances of the union government are in such bad condition that there's very little space for increasing the allocation for education or health, which is, and we are interested in human capital development, which means education and health. Unfortunately, the spending on under these two fronts by the central government is very little, and the expectation, I presume, is that the states would spend more.
Yeah, but that's not happening. Yeah. As you know, a report by CBGA says that centre plus state spending on education last year averaged only 3.1% of GDP.
Which is just too little. You have to understand, and unfortunately most of the media has not understood, that there are countries in Europe and Europe especially, which spend up to 10 to 17% on human capital development. That means education and health. And it could go up to 20% also. And against this we are spending 3%.
So I think we must mention that as last year, even this year, we have tabulated a very important and very interesting box where we told the government how it can cut down establishment expenditure, how it can find and raise the money for investment in human capital development.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the government's finances are in such disarray because firstly, the income of the government of India is only about 30 lakh crores, mainly out of tax revenue. Out of that, 7 lakh crores is spent on interest payouts. This is because of previous fiscal deficits, issuing of bonds, so you have to pay that back. So 7 lakh crores has gone there. 3 lakh crores goes on defense, that's 10. 6 lakh crores, that's 20% of the total revenue of the government of India is spent on establishment expenses. So about 20 lakh crores, about 18 lakh crores is gone there. And then by the time you pay for agriculture, irrigation, and the hundreds of central government schemes and programs where some dribbling amounts are given, there's really nothing left for education. It's important also to understand that really the only factor endowment we have is people. We have the world's youngest population, and therefore it's completely illogical, in our opinion, that we spend so little on education when we have the world's largest child and youth population. So once again, we urge you to read our story, engage with us, make a debate, exert pressure for central and state governments to spend more on education. Because unless we do that, all your plans, all your grand plans, your 5-year plans, thankfully they've been abandoned, will come to nothing.
There's no way you can get to be a 5 trillion economy if you don't invest in human capital development.
And this is particularly important, I think, in the light of this virus scare. If people are well educated, they can take care of themselves, and your health expenditure, etc., will go down.
And also, interestingly, in our second week feature, we've done a pictorial essay on the first ever EducationWorld India Private Budget School Rankings Awards, which were held in Mumbai. in February, and this award ceremony was met with unprecedented enthusiasm from private budget schools who thus far have been vilified.
Yes, I think it's important to tell now the audience what private budget schools are. These are private, affordable schools which provide bottom of the pyramid or mid-pyramid families and households an alternative to government school education, which, as we all know, is in complete disarray. So therefore, a large and growing number of families across India are sending their children to private budget schools.
Unfortunately, 20,000 private budget schools have been shut down over the past 2-3 years for infringing on Section 19.
And it's important to know there are 400,000 budget schools already with 60 million children in them. So it's very important, we believe, that they should be encouraged, not discouraged. And that is why we had this first ever survey of India's best private budget schools, and we ranked, rated and celebrated them at our event in Bombay, and which is the second lead story around this issue.
We in education believe that private budget school promoters are rendering a valuable national public service by offering bottom of pyramid children an alternative to dysfunctional government schools, and they need to be celebrated. And as usual, before we wind up, a very interesting cover story in ParentsWorld, which is how to manage the parenting stress crisis.
According to us, a parenting crisis going on, because there are lots of stressed out parents trying to manage their children, traffic, tuitions, extracurricular activities, board exam stress, and thousand unnatural shocks that...
Parenting stress has now become a mental health classification. So in this story we recommend what you can as a parent do to wind down and to counter parenting stress.
And to become less stressed out. So well, that's all from us this week.
Yes, thank you, and keep safe and healthy.